Well, today we are going to take some simple white cardstock, a simple pattern I created for you, some glue, some paint, and we're going to turn it into Santa's sleigh. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy this project is. All right, so the Santa Sleigh is another project that I've created a pattern for. You can either download both a PDF for hand cutting and or a PNG file to use with your electronic cutting machine. And these are the pieces you're going to get. And I group them together so that on the pattern, on either set, there's like these three pieces are together, these three are together, these three are together, and so on, so that you can see what goes together. So I recommend keeping them together. I've grouped them together. When you take them from your cutting mat or cut them out, keep them grouped together until you glue them together. There's three of everything except for this piece. There's only one of this, and you'll see why here in just a second. Excuse me. And also I'm going to say, when you look at the runner for the sleigh, it's hard to see, but if you look closely, I'm not sure the camera's picking it up. This end is smaller than this end. It's slightly different shape. The smaller one is the back. The bigger one is the front. It's very subtle, but there is a slight difference in size and shape, so it will make a difference when you're gluing them together. So I've got some tacky glue here and a toothpick, and we're going to start with one side of this. And what we're going to do, I'm going to get just a little bit of glue, and I'm going to coat glue on here. This end is the front, so I'm going to try and be consistent and get all those on with the front. And I'm going to do one side of this set of runners for one side of the sleigh. Then I'm going to glue everything else together and then come back and glue the other side. Now lay this on here. I like a liquid glue because it's a little bit more forgiving. I've got a few seconds where I can kind of fiddle with this and I can get it moved around to right where I want it to go. And I feel like I'm going to lose my voice. I'm not sure why. So we're going to put glue here. I'm trying to not get too much glue all over everything, but enough to make this stick together. So I'm going to do and if you're having trouble lining it up, sometimes a dotting tool is really good for getting in those really small areas. Pick it up, make sure it's where you want it. Now, if I wasn't trying to film, I would probably be holding this piece. I did find it's easier to glue it holding it, but then I can't keep it under the camera as well. So I'm gluing it on the tray. Do what works for you. Do what's comfortable for you as far as holding it or not. I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to put this on. I'm just going to glue a couple more pieces on camera, and then I'm going to turn the camera off, glue the rest, and come back before I start this. I'm going to set this off to the side. Then we're going to take our sleigh pieces. There are three for each side of Santa's sleigh. So we are going to now when you go to, if you're using the PNG file in your cutting machine, be sure to resize it to the size that is stated in the little note page or text file that comes with all the other pages. I think it's labeled something like PNG cutting instructions or something to that nature. That way you get the right size, because my Cricut does not import this at the size I have it at, that I want it at, that I saved it as a PNG at. Also, this one, normally I import mine personally on a medium complexity. This one, because of all the small areas on the runners, why did I put glue? Oh, because I've got one. Yep, that was it. I don't know why I continued putting glue on there. It doesn't matter. The complexity of the runners, I decided to do a more complex, whatever the highest quality is. So I'm going to turn the camera off so I can concentrate. I'm going to get everything glued together except those last 3 runners, and I'll show you putting those together, and then we can let this dry. All right, that first batch of glue has dried a little bit. So not really dried, but set up a little bit. So now when I go to pick this up and put the other side on, it won't be slipping around. I'm going to make sure I've got all these lined up the same way because I have moved them a couple of times. I'm going to try and hold this on camera and do it this way because the runners are a little easier to do when you're, at least I find when I'm holding them. So we're going to finish gluing this, and then this glue needs to set up because when we come back, we're going to partially assemble our Santa sleigh. All right, I'll get that last piece glued on, and then I'm going to let this all dry, and then I'll be back. All right, our glue has dried, and what I did with my glue I had on my trays, I just put this plastic container upside down over it. That way it stayed usable. Now I'm going to put this piece off to the side where I don't lose it because we're going to work on these parts. So lay one of Santa's sleigh body pieces, their side pieces down. And we're going to start by putting some glue. Now this is the longest piece. Let me lay these out for you. So we have the longest one is the bottom. The middle one is the back, and the smallest one is the front. So that's that. I made them slightly different sizes so that they'd be easy to keep straight. Now we're putting plenty of glue along this edge, and we're going to line this up so it's fairly well centered on that side. And I'm going to flip it up on its base a second because I want it lined up with the bottom. Now, the back piece. I'm going to put glue here and here. Now, how closely you follow the angles is up to you. Trying to put this where you guys can see it and where I can still see it. It can be right at the back or it can be set in. It's up to you. And now the square piece. This little one is square, so you don't have to worry about one side, which direction it goes. Trying to keep my fingers out of your way and still be able to hold things is somewhat challenging, and I put that in the wrong direction. That's why it didn't stick. A little more glue there. My glue is a little thin because I did add a little more to my little pool of glue before I turned the camera on. I should have added it before when I first turned the camera off earlier. I like this set in a little bit on the front, but it's like I said, it's up to you. Put a little bit more glue there. There. Now, whoopsie. I want to do this part while this glue is still not set. So if I have to move anything, I still can. So don't let the glue on the first side of the sleigh dry before you add the second side, because you might need to adjust things to make sure everything is straight. Now it is sticking to my thumb. I have so much glue on my fingers today. And when you're happy with how it looks, all right, now that glue needs to dry, and when that's dry, we'll come back and we'll do some painting. All right, now our glue is dry, so I've got a couple of paints out. I've got out my flag red. You can use any color red for your Santa sleigh. Now this is going to get messy, just like always when we paint. At least I always make a mess when I paint. I am a very messy painter. So I'm going to paint this one red, and then after I get done with this, I'm going to paint this piece on both sides with the black. So rather than making you watch me paint, which we all know how to paint, I'll get these painted off camera. I'll probably do a second coat to pick up any spots I've missed or any spots that the paint looks thin where I can kind of see through it. And then we need the paint to dry completely, because our next step then will be to put the runners onto the bottom of the sleigh, and we want this paint completely dry before we try to glue to it. So once I have this paint dry, I will be back and we can start finishing this up. All right, I've got 2 coats of paint on these, and we can still touch up the paint if we decide once we have this all assembled, we can touch the paint up yet. So once these are completely dry, because you don't want to glue it when it's damp, determine which is the front of your runners. And this on this one, it's this one. This one is just slightly bigger than that one. I'm not sure the camera's picking it up. You can see it if you look carefully. So I've got these all ready to go, and the little sides should stick up a little bit. You're going to bend. It's going to want to bend. That single layer is going to want to bend where you want it, where it needs to, and the little sides will stick up. Should stick up just a little bit. Not a lot. And we're going to cover this entire surface. Double checking that now get off camera, make sure, yeah, I got this the way I want it. Front in the front. And we're going to kind of center this on that bottom. Don't worry about glue showing on the outside, because we are going to put a coat of Mod Podge on here. Now, a couple of lines of glue that might seem strange to you, but it works. I've put together multiples of these trying to get this pattern right, and I found this worked really well. Put a line of glue on each side, and then another one. Don't really need much there. That's not touching. Now, lay this on its side so that your work surface is holding the bottom runner flat, and put something that's just heavy enough to hold the paper down over it. For me, it's this dotting tool. These dotting tools are just heavy enough to help hold that in place. That glue on the bottom side is going to help those runners to stay where you want them, and we'll add more when we get this dry. So I'm going to let this glue completely dry for a couple hours, and then I'll be back. All right, so that glue is dry, and these are pretty stable, let me get up something to point with. I do have some glue here that's still curing, and right here, but we're going to work around that. Don't put any more glue over those areas. But I've got a little more glue out. What I want to do is kind of build up a little glue along the runners. This will help to hold them in place. And now it's got a good strip of glue all the way back and forth. So if you've got any big lumps, go through. I think I've got a little bit of glue there. So now that needs to dry, and that white needs to all go away. If there's any cloudiness left and we seal it with Mod Podge or any other sealer, it could still be there once everything's dry. So I'm going to let that glue get completely clear, and then we'll come back and put a clear finish on this, and then we can see how it looks. So I'll be back in a sec. All right, this is, all the glue is dried. Look, all of this has cured to the point where you can no longer see any white. That's what you need, because if you seal that glue before it's cured, you stand a chance that it may never cure. So I have some just satin Mod Podge out on my tray, and I have a brush, and I'm going to add just a light coat, kind of an even light coat to the entire sleigh. And I might come back and do a second coat off camera if I decide it needs it. But I'll go ahead and get that done. Once this is ready to use, I'll come back. We'll look at our finished sleigh and we'll talk about how you might use this in your dollhouse. So I'll be right back. All right, here's our finished Santa's sleigh. Now you could decorate this, you could paint it with other colors, you could add some holly leaves painted on, you could paint it any color you wanted, and you can use these in so many ways. When I was looking for inspiration online for the project, I saw people using little tabletop sleighs in all kinds of decor ideas. A lot of people put plants in them or flowers. I saw one really cool picture where a lady had, I assume it was a lady, had put up her Christmas buffet dinner, and she had lined her sleigh with a pretty napkin and filled it with dinner rolls. So you can use these in so many ways in the dollhouse. I can't wait to see how you display yours. Be sure and share pictures with me over on the Facebook group. The link to that is always in the description box, along with the link, of course, to the blog post where you'll get the pattern for the project. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure and hit the like button. Leave me a comment. What kinds of things would you like to see in future videos? What projects are you looking for? Let me know and I can see if I can start working on them. It's never too early to start working on next Christmas. If you enjoy my content and haven't subscribed, I encourage you, hit that subscription button and the notification bell so you know when I put up a new video. Thank you very much for watching today, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.